So let's take this and go down to Danielle for her formal.
All right, here we go. I'm going to shrink this window, make y'all go away a little bit. All right. So some of you have seen this presentation before. Steve, I can't remember if you were a member of the group just yet when I did this the last time. So welcome to the F word. I am Danielle Dryden with Dryden Tax Resolution.
I think I was. You did it when we were meeting over there in that.
Yep. I think you maybe had just joined.
I think so.
Since Steve is our resident CPA, I'll invite him to chime in as he feels necessary if I happen to miss something, because this has evolved ever so slightly, but it is still excellent information, if I might say so myself. So, if you don't know me, I am Danielle Dryden with Dryden Tax Resolution. I help individuals and small businesses resolve federal and state tax debts. Over the last year, obviously, things have been a little wonky with the IRS, to put it lightly. So I have actually expanded my services to providing services that I couldn't provide previously because these problems literally did not exist. So the IRS has created all kinds of new issues for taxpayers to deal with over the last year or so, as a direct result of COVID. So, all right. So here's the F word. Here we go. So this is Sam. Sam is very sad, and I'm going to tell you a story. On a beautiful fall day in early October, Sam gathered up all of her tax documents and took them to her best friend's sister's roommate's mom's second cousin, thrice removed, to prepare her tax return. Sound like a good plan? I can't see you all, but you should be shaking your heads. Sam's person prepared her return, surprisingly accurately though, and showed a $248 refund, gave Sam a copy of the return, and told her to mail it to the IRS, which she did. Some of you may be saying, well, why didn't she just electronically file it? Well, there's several reasons. First of all, her return was late because it's being filed in October. Second of all, it's not being electronically filed because her tax preparer cannot electronically file if they do not have the proper software certifications, et cetera, et cetera. So if your tax preparer cannot electronically file your tax return because they say that they cannot, you should find yourself a new tax preparer. Call Steve. There's plug number one. Sam's return wasn't accepted by the IRS, though. Sad day. It was rejected and flagged for none other than fraud. So there's your F word, fraud. I forgot how annoying that was. You see, Sam wasn't the first person to use her social security number to file a return for that particular tax year. Oh dear, that's so terrible. Meanwhile, the IRS began sending Sam a ton of notices that she had underreported her income by more than $15,000, but Sam didn't receive a single one of them. She finally realized there was a problem when she received what's called a CP-49 notice about a month later, saying that she owed $13,492.12 due immediately. By the way, the CP-49 letter is a letter from the IRS that says that they took your refund and applied it to a past balance due. So she had filed the next year and got a refund and had it applied to the previous balance due. You don't have a choice in doing that. If you owe the IRS, they're going to not let you have your refunds. That's how it works. Realizing that she couldn't deal with this horrible situation on her own, Sam hunted down an amazing, super brilliant tax attorney and her trusty sidekick to help her. That's me. And that's my cat, Sammy, who is currently sitting at my feet right now. Her fairy godmother, tax attorney, me, waved her magic wand at the IRS for the next 16 months, and everything was fixed. I want to take this opportunity to note that I do not have a magic wand and my name is not Hermione Granger. So this is not a thing. So the 16 months thing is really pertinent here. Resolving these issues takes a long time. And I will also point out that this 16-month time frame was prior to COVID. It is taking even longer now. So who's at risk for tax fraud? Everyone. Every single person on planet Earth. If you have been born and you are not yet deceased, you are at risk for tax fraud. There are tax returns filed in children's names. There are tax returns actually filed in the names of deceased people. There are tax returns filed fraudulently for literally every single person who has ever existed on planet Earth. It is a big fat problem. Often small business owners that file a Schedule C as part of their personal return are at the highest risk. They are the most frequently targeted. And the reason for that is because if you file your business income and expenses as part of your personal tax return on a Schedule C, those income and expenses are not reported to the IRS until you file that return. So the IRS doesn't have a way to check it against what was reported to them to be able to determine the validity of that particular return. Hence the reason why small business owners get audited more frequently than the average W-2 employee. So fudging or just entirely inventing business expenses is a surefire way to create a false return showing a large refund. So I actually have a couple of clients right now who have come to me because in the past, they have gone to tax preparers who were unscrupulous, I will say, and have prepared tax returns for them, creating refunds between $4,000 and $10,000. And they do this by filing a Schedule C, which again is the business portion of your personal tax return, even though that person does not have a business, has never had a business, and does not desire to own a business. They are plain old W-2 employees. Yet there is a Schedule C as part of their tax return, which obviously shows a huge deficit in income. You know, you have $1,000 worth of income and you're showing $10,000 worth of expenses associated with that income, thus taking a $9,000 loss and creating a huge refund on page 1 or page 2, depending on the year of your personal return. The IRS is incredibly behind right now and always, so they don't catch these as quickly as we'd like them to, which is why you need to be diligent about what your return looks like before it's filed. So here's what we do. First, call David because you need to have your stuff backed up and protected. There's his phone number. Second, call Jan because you have an identity theft problem and she can help you with that. If you don't know Jan, it's Jan Tinder with ID Shield. She can help you with that situation. Third, and not necessarily in this particular order, call Steve, because if you have a high quality, certified, licensed, smart, intelligent tax preparer, this is less likely to happen to you, because Steve will tell you that it is important to file your return as soon as possible so that your social security number is sort of checked off the list at the IRS. That way, if another return comes in fraudulently, but you've already filed, the IRS will reject that fraudulent return, as opposed to doing it the opposite way. You also need to use effective security software and make sure you update it regularly. That's David's department. He will harp on this over and over and over and over and over until the whole world listens, and he should. Please, 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 please make sure that you are using proper security software and you are keeping it updated so that your stuff is protected. Do not leave your personal information laying around. Shred your mail. So if you're getting credit card pre-approvals or offers for upgraded TV services, and all of these things, they all have your name and your address on it. Shred it. Do not just put those in the trash. You can't just tear it in half and put it in the garbage. That is not sufficient. So please, please, please shred your mail. Make sure that you're using a password manager. David has been doing a lot of talking about this lately, especially with the Facebook breach and all of those good things that are going on right now. Please use a password manager. Making a spreadsheet and saving it on your computer that ultimately gets hacked is not a password manager. So please use an actual program. I'm sure David has a specific recommendation for what program is best to use. When available, use that multi-factor authentication. Super annoying to have to get a text message with a 6 or 8 digit code every single time you log into something, but it is helping to keep your information more secure. So please use that if the company's website that you are on offers it to you. It will help. Other things, make sure that you file your return each year as soon as possible. I already mentioned this. I'm not going to harp on it further. Get it done quickly. Do not file an extension unless you absolutely have to. First of all, it protects your information. Second of all, it makes your tax preparer just a little bit less crazy. You should also file a tax return even if you don't have a filing requirement. So if you do not have a filing requirement, but you have received money from somewhere, whether that be a part-time job and you just didn't meet the income threshold, you are elderly and are receiving only Social Security, you know, whatever the situation is, especially teenagers, college students, etc., please make sure that you file a return anyway. Chances are, if you had earned income, you also had some withholding, and you can get that withholding back in a refund and also protect your Social Security number while you're at it. So it's 2 birds with 1 stone. Sorry, birds. Also, never carry your Social Security card with you. I am always flabbergasted when I discover that someone is carrying their Social Security card with them in their wallet. Please stop doing that. This is not a good idea for a lot of different reasons. Please don't. And finally, create an account on irs.gov and check your wage and income transcripts regularly to make sure that they're accurate. Your wages, mortgage interest, student loan interest, all of these things that you receive a tax document for each year are reported to the IRS. Those transcripts usually get updated for the prior tax year in May or June of the following year. So we are coming up on transcripts being updated for 2020 taxes right now. So unfortunately, you are unlikely to be able to use that transcript to be able to file that year's tax return because they just don't get updated quickly enough. But you do want to make sure, much like checking your credit report to make sure that there isn't wonky stuff that shouldn't be there on your credit report, you should also be checking your wage and income transcripts to make sure that amounts and sources of income and those other documents have been reported correctly. The IRS uses that transcript to compare against what you file on your tax return to determine whether that return is accurate or not. If there is income on your wage and income transcript that you did not report on your return, you're going to get a letter that is called a CP 2000 letter. That is for underreporting. So please make sure you're checking that transcript. One little aside about the irs.gov account. It is very difficult to actually get this account set up, but you should try to do it anyway. The reason it's complicated is because they have been incredibly restrictive on the identity verification process. So you first have to have a credit card, a mortgage, a something that shows your name and address or whatnot so that they can check it against, I think they use your credit file to be able to determine that you are who you are. Then there's a second round of identification that requires you to have a cell phone in your name. So if you are a married person and your cell phone is in your spouse's name, you may not be able to qualify and get through the eligibility requirements. But you should try anyway. Please make sure you create this account if you're able. It only takes about 10 minutes to set up or not, but it is 10 minutes that you should definitely use. So why am I here? Call me if you get any of these letters that are asking from the IRS, asking about a suspicious return, easy for me to say, that you did not file. So if the IRS sends you a letter and says you have a $10,000 balance due, but you filed a return saying you have a $3,000 balance due, or vice versa, you should probably get in touch with me because there's possibly an identity theft issue that needs to be addressed. If your awesome tax professional cannot e-file your return because of a duplicate social security number, so if your e-file return gets rejected for that reason, then it is likely that there is already a return filed on your behalf and you need to figure out what happened. You get an IRS notice that an online account has been created in your name. So if you are a married person, each of you has to create your own separate accounts. If you file jointly, obviously all of the joint information will be available to you on within your login, but each of you can have your separate logins. So, for example, if Maureen creates her own account, but then her husband later gets a notification that he has had an account set up, but he didn't create one, that there is a problem. So you're going to want to get in touch with me so that we can get your social security number locked down properly. If you get an IRS notice that you owe tax or your refund is being offset for a year when you did not file a return, that's also a big problem. So get in touch with me if you're receiving any notices from the IRS that don't seem to be consistent with what you told them it should be. This is me. Dryden Tax Resolution LLC is my business. You can get in touch with me by phone, best by email, because I am on the phone a great deal with the IRS, listening to their delightful hold music. So please shoot me an email if you need any assistance, and I am happy to help in any way that I can.
I have a question, Danielle.
Yes.
Why shouldn't somebody try, though, to go ahead and just navigate the IRS on their own if they get these notices? Why would they need to pay you?
Because the IRS is known to be quite a disaster to begin with, but COVID has made that disaster that of mass proportion. But let me see. I think you're getting at this fun little doohickey. So let me stop.
I am.
Because of this. So, a tax return prepared by a CPA or other licensed tax professional is most likely, not always, but most likely, going to hang out in these two green areas. It will possibly pass through this orange area, but then head back to the green one. So you're good to go if you hang out in this top row. Unfortunately, sometimes things go wrong and you start bleeding into these other pretty colors down here. They look pretty, but it's not pretty if you end up there. So this is, every single one of these dots is another stop on the roadmap to IRS heck. So please, you end up anywhere down here, please make sure that you're getting in touch with me as soon as possible, because I have found lately the IRS has been yammering on about it for eons that they're increasing their collections, except for that it's actually seemingly happening currently. I have a number of clients who have reached out to me recently over the last 2 to 3 months or so that are being examined, have underreporting notices, other issues with their tax returns. And the response dates on those letters are usually 30 days. And the IRS is not interested in giving you extra time for any reason. So please make sure that you get in touch with me the moment you receive the letter. I did get a call yesterday from an individual who received a letter back in January, had an appointment scheduled for an examination hearing in February, decided that he didn't get his documentation together quickly enough and called the examiner, managed to get an extension, and the hearing is now April 20th, and he just reached out to me yesterday. I will be completely honest with you. I charged him accordingly because now I have to drop everything that I'm doing to focus on his case so that he doesn't get all of his bank accounts levied for his business, his personal, etc. Please do not be this person. That is not the way to go about it. Call me immediately. It will be less expensive. I promise.